This is another video where I will edit the world map, and I've already made some changes if you haven't noticed, but my other recording ran out of memory. Anyways, let me show you what I've already done before I make any other changes. Okay, so for the United States, I decided to assign kind of new territories or different regions. So first of all, let's start with the East Coast. We've got this New England area, we've got the Adirondacks, we've got this kind of Rust Belt Mid-Atlantic region, and then we've got this region, which is where the big political stuff happens. Then we've got the, I guess, more of the Rust Belt and the kind of the eastern, more urbanized Midwest. We've got this little more like forest wetland region. Great Plains, we've got the South, and you've got the part of Florida that kind of has its own identity, the French Louisiana, the Cajun area. You have the part of Texas that has DFW, Austin, Houston, really what's important. Then you've got the predominantly Hispanic or Hispanic influenced region. We have the Colorado River Basin, which I believe is really important to help manage and allocate water, because if you look at those Lake Mead water levels, it is quite concerning. Anyways, we have this California farming region, which is quite responsible for a lot of the water usage from the Colorado River Basin. And then the part of California that's along the coastline, it's kind of its own thing, San Francisco, all the way down to LA. We've got the Pacific Northwest that also has a part of Alaska. And we've got this kind of region that didn't really fit anywhere else that has part of Idaho and Montana, little Wyoming. I guess that's some like mountain park area. Hawaii gets to be its own little state and region area because I mean it's pretty separate. And then Alaska, I split it into the main part of Alaska, the Orthodox part of Alaska, of course the Panhandle, which is part of the Pacific Northwest. Another change I made, or the first change I made, was Australia. I thought that Australia kind of had a monopoly on the entire mainland continent of Australia, because this is considered mainland. It's not considered an island. I just found it kind of weird how Perth and Sydney were on the same continent but so far apart, just for being some place that is allegedly not an island. So I decided to create Westralia. If something horrible happens to Australia, then there will be Westralia or vice versa. I also did borrow some land from New Zealand. You can't really tell much difference. I'm using it as a landowner for when I want to do land reclamation. And I gave it to India and made a bridge to Sri Lanka. Now, apparently the reason they're not building a bridge, even though it's possible and may have existed in the past, is because of, I think, something with fishermen and ethnic groups. And North Sri Lanka has Tamil people, so I'm like, we'll create a lot of land, and that, I guess, will wipe out some of the fishing problems we have. Now we have the Tamil ethnic group, a part of India, at least a good chunk of it. I guess to compensate the country, who knows? I guess they'll get all the taxes or tolls from the bridge. By the way, this is not meant to be taken seriously. I'll probably have to add a disclaimer to the beginning. Okay, so I decided that dilution is the solution for pollution.
Dilution is the solution of pollution.
I decided to employ that tactic. So what I did is I made Yemen part of Saudi Arabia because it got all this new land of northern Yemen. I also gave some more land to Bahrain because they're just an island and stuff, so might as well have some part of the mainland. And I guess for economic reasons, we'll make them border this new confederation. I said something about how these Gulf countries have slavery, and hopefully there's less of that now. This might make it worse. I really hope not, but I mean, if I don't do anything, whether I do something or not, it'll happen anyways. Oh, also I made Kuwait part of Iraq, I guess, is my other dilution. Oh, and the thing I was going to do before my memory crashed is this weird 90-degree angle thing. If it's going to be a 90-degree angle, might as well make it a real 90-degree angle. Okay, that was not the original plan. I was going to give it this region, but I guess we'll extend it north so they get more land now. Great. Now, this region tends to attract some controversy, so what I did is I split it up into multiple states, and I'm going to do this test where we'll see which government yields the best societal and maybe economic results, and then we'll make that they'll have control of the entire country. So basically I had the Tel Aviv region, all of Jerusalem, east and west, this place that will hopefully protect the Aral Sea, and I gave it some ocean for desalination. It will, hopefully revive the Dead Sea and turn this back into a single lake. And then we have this region and oh, and yes, I did give Jordan where the line was supposed to be made, and now they have more access to the ocean. So yeah, hopefully everything worked out. Oh yeah, Oman, they lost some land here because that was a border nightmare. And, they get southern Yemen now, so hopefully they dilute it into economic upturn. Even if Oman does slightly worse off, it'll hopefully benefit this region. I don't know. We're just hoping for the best. Okay, so South Africa is dealing with some corruption problems, and there seems to be 3 big political parties, mainly one, but there's 2 smaller oppositions. One of them is a Zulu-related party in KwaZulu-Natal. So I gave it, they have their country. Then we have the part controlled by the ANC, and then we have the DA region. I guess we might, that also includes this, along with Western Cape. And what we're going to do is whoever, after 10 years, yields the best economic and, I guess, results related getting crime away, because, South Africa has a very high crime rate. They will control the country for those 10 years, whoever does the best. Then, I guess after 5 to 10 years, it'll go back to elections. So hopefully things do well. Okay, I don't really understand Djibouti. It's a port city. It's when things get manufactured in Ethiopia, I'm pretty sure they just ship it out truck it out to here, and then they ship it elsewhere. Might as well give it some ocean access, or if not that, we'll just give it to Eritrea, because I'm pretty sure they're culturally and to some extent religiously similar, or the same. So Ethiopia will now get back Eritrea, and I'm pretty sure it had it at some point in history, so it's a win. I don't know too much about Somaliland and all, but I guess we could make it independent. And then we can get this Djibouti. I guess we can start them off with an economic advantage. I don't know much about Djibouti. I hope this doesn't cause any war. Okay, now if you look at the Korean Peninsula, we have 2 countries which in some way have their own kind of dystopia. South Korea has this kind of the closest country you get to cyberpunk, and they have a crazy academic system that makes it super hard. I mean, it plummeted the birth rates. And then you have North Korea, and I'm sure you know about that. Split it in the middle. Honestly, it might just be a good idea to unite both Koreas. I don't see the point in doing this, but I might be able to do that experiment thing again if whoever government does best after 10 years. Maybe this would need more than 10 years because of they need to develop North Korea with infrastructure. But, I've done that already 2 times at some point, so might as well just keep it one Korea. Okay, so we have China and they have all these economically, they have like a few economically prosperous regions. We have the Pearl River Delta. Now, what about the Pearl River Delta am I interested in? If we make a country out of it, this will be a crazy country. It's like 10% of China's GDP coming from this region. It has Hong Kong, Macau. I don't know if we'll keep those at the same country. Maybe we'll just add another country. We'll make the Pearl River Delta very overpowered, I guess. And we can have 3 different regions. We have the Jiangmen, we have Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. That should be good. Have you ever been annoyed that this region does not have a 4 points border? Yeah, I'm also not a fan of this, because look, it's so close. Mongolia touching Kazakhstan, that would be amazing. So what I'm going to do is, since there's no countries with a 4-way border point, voila, now we have this random little mountain region that is for the most part uninhabited, and we have a beautiful border that now will attract tourists, I guess. Okay, now I'm pretty sure Stalin specifically tried to make these borders super confusing. So since they're like inside of each other and everything, and they used to be part of the same country, I think we can make Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, we can make them one country. And then we can make Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, because, Turkmenistan, well, if you know what it's like there, it's very interesting. So we're going to make them its own country, and then their natural gas will be able to be going to better use, and hopefully the wealth distribution will be somewhat better, and more people will be able to buy Turkmen rugs or something. Now there's all these little controversies when it comes to this one place called Kashmir. And the thing about Kashmir is that I have a solution. Thinks that India and Pakistan are enemies, and that's not fun. How about we make it so that it's actually easy to cross the border? And how will I do that? There you go. Now we have a country that will act as a mediator between India and Pakistan. Okay, now that we've done that, we'll give some of the Atacama Desert to Bolivia because, well, they love coastline, they even have a navy and all, so might as well give them some piece of a desert, driest on earth. I mean, that not much happens in the desert. It's not a tourist overloaded region. Just give it to them. Some countries aren't just able to compete with some of the huge nations around them. So, what we're going to do is we're going to recreate Gran Colombia. It was the same country at one point. They had the same colonial power over them a while back, and I think that will help solve the Essequibo conflict, which is Venezuela claiming this region, and hopefully it will help stop that. Venezuela's economy will be able to bounce back with the tourism, because if you didn't know, Venezuela used to be a big tourist destination. Even in like the early 2000s, people would go on cruises to Margarita Island, which is right here, and well, that's not happening no more. We are also going to create that highway that connects North and South America for once. So what it's going to do is, now that Gran Colombia is so big and they have all this oil money, they are going to get a little piece of Panama, where this Darien Gap area, but I promise you it will be for good use. Okay, now that we have the Darien Gap, or perhaps you can make your own country. I don't know if it's necessary. Well, you know, no one really lives there anyways. We'll just create a new country for the place that has the highway. And what will happen in this country is there will be a highway that kind of huddles the coastline, because I guess it's easier there, and there's like little settlements along the way. It'll hug the coastline, and eventually will go back into the main highway system, Panama, which will connect it with all the Americas. And suddenly, now North and South America will be connected, and this country will, I guess, oversee this area, because, you know, the Darien Gap is dangerous and has all this stuff going on there. And then, if you look at the passports of some Central American countries, they kind of show them as part of some union. So, if they're that close to each other, I'm probably going to annex them for the same reason I recreated Gran Colombia, and other countries will be able to economically benefit off of the Panama Canal, hopefully, and then Nicaragua. I'm not sure if it's there's a lot of crime there, but hopefully by creating this country, we'll be able to get the countries that are better with crime to help stop the crime in the countries where it's still going on. And I might just leave Belize as it is, because it's English speaking and it's already kind of part of this Caribbean community. I forgot the name. Is it CARICOM? Something like that. But it's kind of like a Caribbean country in its way. And for the sake of logistics, I think it'll be easier to split up Brazil into 3 separate countries, because then you'll be able to manage it easier, hopefully. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Rio de Janeiro to the kind of northern Brazil. And then we have this Amazonia region. Now Amazonia is going to kind of will be its own place. So what I'm going to do that. And then we have southern Brazil. Yeah, they have Brasilia, they have Sao Paulo. I hope it's not too advantaged, but I mean, this eastern Brazil, it probably has the majority of Brazil's population anyways. And it has a lot of different cities like Fortaleza and Salvador. Now, Ukraine's a bit of a tricky situation. One part of Ukraine, it's very Ukrainian, and their identity is strongly Ukrainian. So I gave them Kyiv, and I gave them the west. There's this area which is part Romanian, part Gagauz, part Ukrainian, Russian, and even Bulgarian. I mean, it's surprising how many Bulgarians live in this region. So yeah, they're their own country now. I kind of had this intermediary place, and then I also have another intermediary country. Yeah, it might work better though. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating a new Caucasian power. So this is Azerbaijan. I think I'm going to give them, in compensation, a little more land, and because of the exclave and how a lot of northern Iran already is Azerbaijani and speaks Azerbaijani, they're just going to be absorbed into the country because, they're they're already bordering people who share the same culture with them. And as Danu's whatever did, I'll also make this Persia. Maybe Afghanistan's situation will get better if we give it some coastline. So what we're going to do. And actually, I just realized Pakistan already kind of does stuff for the United States on behalf of what's now Iran, or what I've turned to Persia, and I think Afghanistan even. So I think we're just going to merge them. And that's what it looks like. Very interesting shape. Now, there's something about France where they just love French language, and that's fine. But it's also been to the expense, historically, of this one Celtic language that's right here that I somehow forgot the name of, and the Occitan language, which apparently is similar to Catalan. So I'm going to be giving them, their own country. And they'll have border with Switzerland, because why not? And because Monaco is one of the only places on Earth where you completely own the land that you own if you own land, which is very hard because you need to be very rich, I'm going to be giving them more land. They've historically had land that even went in a little into Italy, so we're going to do that. We're going to give them some more land, and yeah, Monaco is now bigger. Woohoo! And you know what? We can give, for the same reason I created two countries that split from France, and Corsica is now its own country, by the way. I'm also going to create a Basque region, and we're going to give countries more relevance. We're going to create more developed countries in Europe by just splitting countries apart into different cultures, I guess. But there's this language that exists that's in between Portuguese and Spanish, Galician. I did not forget this time, and now the Galicians have their country. I unfortunately punished France a little, because look how much land no longer belongs to them. Well, they now have Belgium, partly, because if you did not know, they actually speak French in Belgium, and in the Belgian dialect of French, their numbering system, fun fact, is a lot easier. Instead of 420, 10, 9 to say 99, they have their own word for 90. I don't know, it's simple. Instead of 99, they say 99. Woohoo! And then the north part of Belgium, we'll just give them to the Netherlands because, well, yeah, it's going to be a bigger Dutch country now. They already speak Dutch here, so yeah, there's that. Now we have the conflicts between the Greeks and the Turks. How do we solve that? Well, you actually probably guessed it. Create a new country. We'll actually control about half of the island, so here's how we're going to divide. Okay, so unfortunately my recording cut off, but basically there are going to be two countries controlling the Strait of Dardanelles and the Aegean, and that is so that no country will have complete control of one thing or another. Oh, and here's how the borders look. The map already did something for me. I wanted to make sure Cyprus owned the entire island of Cyprus, no British, no separatist side. And thankfully, I recorded this into segments, which means that I'm able to not have to re-record everything. There exists two Congos, which is kind of interesting because, it'd be easier if people could just say Congo and it'd be correct. So we're going to make one Congo. I don't think this would cause too many problems. We are also going to fix this little Angolan exclave, which has to do something with oil actually, because they get more control over parts of the ocean with oil. So now we'll give it to this African country. They already have oil off of other parts of their coast, Angola. I've seen online that there's some similarities between Malawi and Zambia, so we're gonna make them one country. And if there's any water stress going on in Zambia, well, now they have access to this very big lake. And maybe Zimbabwe will have better prospects, doing better as a country, if we give them more land. So what we're going to do is we're going to give them some coast. They're not going to get the city of Beira. They're not going to get the northern, kind of unstable part of Mozambique. And I'm pretty sure this area speaks Swahili. And, Tanzania, they also speak Swahili as a national language. So we're going to... Tanzania now has part of northern Mozambique. I don't know what kind of border conflict this little line is, but I'm sure we can just clear it off and no one will notice. I cleaned up Egypt's border a little. Now this area, Bertouil, I guess we can leave it to that father who claimed it for her daughter so that she can be a princess. I mean, that's kind of wholesome, right? Now we have these countries which have northern coasts, which are climatically better in terms of agriculture, if that's something they do in some of these northern regions. And we have in the Sahara, we have the Tuareg people, we have the Berber people, we have all sorts of different peoples who live there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Saharan country. These people will have to learn to innovate. Well, I'm sure they don't need to learn because they've already been doing it for thousands of years, and have to be able to live in a climate where, well, there's just not too much water. So there's going to have to be also some geological engineering and water retention, kind of like how they've been doing in Saudi Arabia and in the Sahel regions, Africa. And I'm pretty sure northern Mali, northern Niger, northern Chad, they all have their own little separatist groups. I'm thinking, well, maybe they have something in common. Maybe if we put them all in one country, one very sparse desert, which they've been living in already, then hopefully things will work themselves. Lake Chad has been drying and all that. I mean, look what it used to be and look what it is now. So we're going to have a country that's focused on preserving it, and they're going to use all these little different methods to stop the Sahara from growing southward. And the goal is that Lake Chad starts filling up again. Okay, so Sudan's a little different now. Now they have some more jungle region, which hopefully will be a place where they can get water from. I know that's a very expensive thing, but now they have regions with water. Now it's not just an entirely dry country. They also have South Sudan, which is obviously more wet than the Northern Sudan. So yeah, we have that. Yeah, our Mauritania border is different. We have the the Sahara Confederation. We have Western Sahara. We have Morocco. We have Algeria and all. I pushed their border just a little north so they have some mountains, I guess, in the Atlas region. Brunei is just kind of sticking out like right here in the island of Borneo. So we're just going to absorb them into Malaysia, since there are a lot of stateless people living in Myanmar or Burma, whatever you want to call the country. Myanmar government says, well, these people are Bangladeshi. They should be Bangladeshi citizens. And Bangladesh says, oh no, they are not. They should be your citizens. And we'll just create them as one country because they used to be part of, India used to include Myanmar. Myanmar has this panhandle, doesn't really quite fit within this Bangladeshi, Myanmar, Burmese country. So we're going to give it to Thailand so that they have a cleaner border. I'm not sure if my love for aesthetics in borders will cause some crazy wars if these were to become real. I'm sure they would be. Not fun. But this is just an hypothetical map. Also, another one of these lines, what's with them? These disputed territories. Just erase it. And Sikkim is kind of its own place in India. So I'm pretty sure if you're a tourist, you need a permit to go there. Be part of Bhutan, because, well, Bhutan is already a very special country that does things that, in a way that other countries don't. And Bangladesh might need a little growing room. So, well, actually, we can just create a new country, this eastern part of India. Or, I think that country would be too scattered. I think we'll just make them part of India, and they'll just have this narrow corridor. India's kind of keeping these countries together, hopefully. Speaking of buffer countries, which I've probably mentioned sometime in this video, since Karelia has the Karelian language, and that language is not doing super well, and I'm interested in linguistics, we're obviously going to create a new country where Karelian is an official language. And sometimes when I make these borders, I'm like, well, there's Karelian here, but there's also Karelian scattered in these regions. Will that undermine the Karelian that's spoken outside of the Karelian country? Will it make that die even faster? Sometimes you just need to make sacrifices. Sometimes you need to do one thing, and if something else happens as a result, honestly, I don't think it'll make much of a difference. Now, there's a lot going on in Germany right now. So, yes, we are going to recreate our East Germany. It's not going to be communist, it's just going to be another Germany. And they are going to have Berlin completely. And yes, Germany already has like Frankfurt, Cologne, Hamburg, Munich, all these other cool cities and stuff. Things that this part is also politically different than the rest of Germany. And hopefully, Berlin's wealth can be diluted to the entirety of East Germany. So yeah, that is my video on the map of the world I created. Now it is time for the review of each country.